support a no detriment policy.
No detriment policy.
A no detriment policy.
The main reason why my family and I thought it was best to join Portsmouth University, they have fantastic autistic services. To go from a change in environment completely, from a study environment to remotely doing work, has been difficult. I've had to completely uproot and move back home. This has not been good at all.
A no detriment policy would level the playing field for Portsmouth graduates when applying for jobs, competing against students from other universities with such a policy.
I believe in a no detriment policy, as I think it is unfair to assume a normal standard of work can be achieved given the limited resources available and the increased strain on mental health.
We're currently living through a historical event. GCSEs and A-levels have been cancelled, but what is in place for us university students? A no detriment policy would give us all a fair and equal chance at getting the grades that we deserve. We should not be penalised for a global pandemic. This is our one and only chance of getting these grades. We should get the grades that we deserve.
It was the best option to join this university since the ASDAC, which is the Additional Support and Disability Advice Centre. They have fantastic support services to help people like me who are mentally handicapped. And they have provided me with so much help and support throughout my time as a student. My experience in this university has been so good. I love this university more than any other institution I have ever been to. However, because of the coronavirus, I have had to change my working environment, which is normally on the university campus, but because the university has shut down due to the coronavirus, I have had to do all my studies remotely at home. I have found this very difficult and hard to cope with, which is really affecting my studies. On top of that, I have been very anxious and very emotional due to the coronavirus outbreak, since I have been stuck at home due to quarantine. I feel very lonely and isolated, which makes me feel down and gives me a low mood, which consequentially makes it harder for me to focus on my degree, when this semester is the most important semester for me and for my degree.
For bodies within education, this may be a temporary moment in time, but for students to have a lasting impact, and I feel like we should be compensated for such an effect.
I want a no detriment policy because the policies put into place so far are bare minimum. Fair assessment should be happening anyway, and we need parity with other unis such as Southampton and Surrey to ensure that our well-being is considered and our average grades are considered, and that uni isn't our main stress in a pandemic.
It's unreasonable for students to be able to complete work of a decent standard at this time of everything going on in the world. I don't think extenuating circumstances or extensions on work are going to cut it. I also think there's enough of a body of work from years 1, 2 and 3 to be able to judge us already on what we've already done.
I think all universities should be implementing a no detriment rule to make sure that we're consistent throughout all universities and not putting anyone at an unfair disadvantage.
Because it's been impossible to complete work with the same standard as I had done in the library. The ECA procedure just prolongs the stress, and I'm trying to complete substandard work while self-confined in a student house of 6 people. I've never been more demotivated.
We believe it's a safety net that will ensure us students are not disadvantaged by this pandemic, which is out of our control. So many students across our university have done exceptionally well in the last years, and it'd be so disheartening for us to not achieve the degree we deserve. In particular, third year students are under a lot of stress, and we've been working so hard in the last 3 to 4 years.
And this also provides the whole idea of the university's aim to achieve outcomes for all students, and this also takes into account the circumstances, and this evidently provides fairness for us all.
Student satisfaction is key. The university should evaluate us based on what we have achieved before these sorrowful times, so we do not have to judge the university based on the services that it currently provides.
The detriment policy will take off some pressure and stress of students. Like myself, most students are not in the greatest mental health state and cannot produce great quality work. We would still put in as much effort as we can, but it would just give us some certainty in uncertain times.
With so many other universities implementing this, justifications of maintaining the integrity of accreditations and qualifications are void. We deserve not to have our hard work jeopardised by this global pandemic. Follow other universities' example and listen to your students.
For example, I live in a house that's constantly loud. I don't even have a desk to work in, so I work in my bed. And the conditions are not ideal. And also we don't have the library at disposition, so we don't have the same resources, which I think is a bit unfair on students.
Some students are disadvantaged because of the assignments, and they don't have any access to the resources that we have. Giving students a chance for a better solution instead of us dealing with something that we didn't ask for. Some students don't work well with assignments and do well with finals, and this can advantage their studies majorly, and we should care for all students.
The current measures are not working at all. I've had problems where I haven't been able to attend some of my online lectures due to a fault with the online lecture application, where I am unable to join the session. Thankfully, there is a recording of the lecture after the lecture concludes, but I am still unable to contribute in the chat and to ask my lecturer questions because of me being unable to join the lecture lobby. The other issue is about the OpNet remote access, which is very unreliable, making it a big struggle and a worry for me, since my deadlines aren't too far away. Other universities have already implemented the no detrimental policy, such as Southampton, Bournemouth, Exeter, Warwick, Coventry, and more universities across the countries will soon implement this. They are providing a much better service than the University of Portsmouth right now. It is incredibly poor, and someone who is mentally handicapped like myself, I think it's very outrageous of the university that I'm unable to get reliable access to the university's facilities, such as the networking lab, during these unprecedented circumstances. The list goes on. It's unacceptable.
A no detriment policy is needed because the current measures that the university have put in place do not account for our mental health issues and the likely drop in standard in our work. Other unis have it in place, so it's unfair. I feel that our uni is at a disadvantage, and to have it, there would be less pressure on us.
What's the point in giving us different tools to work remotely if they don't even work?
I've had lectures where I haven't been able to hear the lecturer's audio for the entire lecture. Thankfully, there was an audio recording, but I still can't contribute in the chat at all or ask questions because I cannot hear what he is saying. The other issue is obviously the OpNet. That is a big struggle and worry. And other unis are implementing this and providing a much better service than Portsmouth University. It is incredibly poor, and for someone that's autistic like myself, completely uprooted from the uni, not being able to use the library facilities, not being able to use the networking lab facilities. The list goes on. It's not acceptable.
The current measures do not work, as 5 days in an ECF do not counteract both the below par online resources, the move home many of us have made, nor do they account for the lack of resources we usually have access to in the library. I want no detriment imposed to ensure that we are not disadvantaged by comparison to students at other universities, and that 3 years of hard work isn't ruined by one negligent, remissful and frankly unjust decision from the Vice-Chancellor.
Not be expected to produce the same quality of work in a global emergency. I have worked so hard over the last 3 years to fail at the last hurdle due to no fault of my own.
Some students are living in suboptimal learning environments. Their learning may be disrupted, and their grades may not reflect their ability.
They don't have access to things like the library, and because campus is closed, it's not as easy to get in contact with our tutors, so I feel like especially for dissertation, we're at a disadvantage.
Although we have the extension of how long, most of them 5 days, I don't think it's good enough. I think we need the detriment policy due to the fact that some of us have moved away from working environments and moved back home to a non-uni working environment.
We support the no detriment policy.